with that being said, Dominic, the fight took place on Saturday, and I can't say this was a complete 180 legacy was. I mean,
Yeah.
what to go out there and have that kind of fight where he had the battle back from some adversity. He got dropped twice in the first round, in the first obviously 2.5 minutes or whatever of the fight, or a minute and a half. Yeah, but to come back, I mean, that was a lethal performance. I mean, this guy is he is injected this lightweight division with a dose of poison. He
Yeah.
is the kryptonite for these guys, and this win just solidified that he is the champion. He
Yes.
is the champion, and I
Yes.
think everybody should treat him as such. I understand UFC might not be able to just say it in name, but make no mistake, when he goes and fights Islam Makhachev or Michael Chandler or whoever it might be for the lightweight title, he's the champion walking in, and if they beat him, they truly beat the best champion in the lightweight in the world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He's the best 155-pound fighter in the world right now. This is 11 straight wins. It's 10 via stoppage, many of those in the first round, and he's now doing it to the other best fighters in the world: Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier. His resume is beginning to reach unmatched status, fight by fight, essentially, and he is very close to rivaling Habib for the best lightweight of all time. Yes, the weight cut hurts. It does. But you look at, it's like Habib had the perfect run on the scales, as no already mentioned. Yes, though officially, he never had that belt, taken from him for missing weight. So there are still pieces of the puzzle remaining for Charles to reach that milestone. But man, I mean, what can't you not love about this guy? The story is second to none in terms of just his upbringing, the back and forth. I mean, he was 10-8 now in the UFC, win lose, back and
Mm-hmm.
forth. He's missing weight 4 times at featherweight. Never looked like he would amount to much outside of a guy that's going to be in fun fights, yeah, but he's never going to amount to a champion or even a contender. Then this run he's had at lightweight is unlike. I mean, what? Tony had a 12 fight win streak and Habib won 13, and now Charles is at 11. I mean, hello, he's right there, and arguably a top three, close to top one. It was just a phenomenal performance. The adversity that he faces time in and time out. He is a lethal weapon, as Noah said. He's so well rounded. He's so good on the feet. He's an ace on the ground. The problem is, Noah, when people are dropping him, he's been dropped in 3 straight fights. What, are you going to go on the ground with him when you hurt him? He's welcoming it. He's like, yeah, come on down, guys. I mean, he essentially just gets time to recover because no one's going to jump on top of him. And when you do, you're fucked. He is a one of a kind athlete at this point in the UFC.
Yeah, this was an exceptional fight, and I do think there's a discussion to be had here, Dominic, about where he stacks up at this point, all-time lightweight status. Right? I mean, that's the discussion
Yes.
we said we wanted to have. At first, we thought it was out of the question with the all the drama, the weight miss, the stripping of the title. But now I think we have a legitimate discussion to have here. Like, where does he stack up to the likes of Habib Nurmagomedov, to BJ Penn, to guys like that? And I'm just gonna go first. I still think he's a ways away. If you go off of just how he's fighting now, he clearly stacks up to the. I mean, he's right behind like a Habib. If
Yeah.
you went by off of how good they are at their peak, I mean, it's definitely him. It's those three I just mentioned: Habib, BJ Penn, and him at their best. I mean, that he is looking as good as those guys were in their prime.
Yep.
But with that being said, that early run still has to account for something. And yes, you got like BJ Penn in that late run he had that we don't like to talk about. Had a lot of losses stacked up. But Habib didn't do it as long. Doesn't have the longevity to his resume, but he is undefeated.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think with this win, you could probably firmly put Charles Oliveira in like the top 25 fighters of all time in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's close to being a top five quite yet, and that's where you look at Habib Nurmagomedov right now.
Yeah, in terms of like all time pound for pound, I wouldn't quite put there. Like you said, not top five, not top 10. But if, I mean, we're looking at a guy there that's only 32 years old, and you look at the accolades, the solidified most finishes. He broke that tie last night with 19 now. He's got what, 21 wins, and he's 31 years or 32 years old. The ceiling is still very high for Charles, which is mind boggling to me. I
True.
mean, If he goes out there and beats Islam Makhachev, he beats Chandler again, he beats Conor McGregor, he beats some of these up and coming Rafael Fiziev if he gets to a title shot. I mean, we're talking one of the. I mean, we talk about Dustin Poirier's resume all the time, right? Charles Oliveira's resume is damn near that, if not better. So he's approaching all-time great status, and he's top 3 best lightweights of all time.
So you would put him above. I'm trying to think of like who else would. I mean, Frankie Edgar might be on that list, right? I guess Conor McGregor might be on that list for winning. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not even sure who the top lightweights of all time would be once you get past the top 2. Benson Henderson held the title for a while. Do you firmly put him above someone like Frankie Edgar or above Benson Henderson?
I believe you've already said the 3. I think probably Khabib, BJ Penn, and Charles Oliveira. I mean, look at the run. 11 straight wins. No one's ever even done that besides, again, him, Tony, who's never had the undisputed belt, and Khabib. It's legendary stuff.
It is. I'm not, like, I think what you were doing there, you were saying, like, his ceiling is still so high, and you're so right, because, I mean, he's relatively in his prime. I mean, he's 32 years old.
Yeah.
Yes, he has a ton of experience in fight years, but they don't seem to have worn on him the way that it does for a lot of guys. I mean, Jose Aldo's not in that. How old is he? 33, 34?
34.
And he just seems
35.
a more aged version of what we have here with Charles. And,
that's a great comparison.
Some of that might be the weight classes, because again, the higher in weight you go, the longer you can kind of be at an elite level. You know, heavyweights sometimes go into their mid 40s, but you don't see that at these lower weight classes unless you're Tronado. Now, for Charles, yes, like, he has all these big fights, but it's a lot of projecting, saying like, for him to win some of these fights. I mean, I think a lot of people look at his next potential fight with Islam Makhachev and think that, you know, Islam might come in and smash, you know, and I have a hard time believing that he's going to go down quietly in that fight.
Yeah.
But because of that, like, I could even kind of do the reverse, the Uno reverse on you right there and say, well, he has so much time left. It could actually hurt his legacy if like the losses start to stack up.
Right.
You know, it doesn't feel like it right now. It just feels like his legacy is very volatile. That's the word I would use. Meaning he's really creating it as we speak. So any fight from here, like if he goes to his next fight, let's say it's Islam in Abu Dhabi or whatever, let's say he misses weight again.
Yeah.
I mean,
God forbid.
Yeah, I mean, you just never know. So it's a lot of projecting. But as it stands right now, if he were to retire tomorrow, I don't know. I don't know where I put him at. I think around that 20 to 25 of fighters of all time. And there's an argument that he's the 3rd best lightweight in the world of all time. But I'm not sure if it's as solid if he never fights again. Like we're kind of putting him 3rd with, I think. I'm not sure if we're saying he's the 3rd best lightweight of all time because of what he's accomplished already, or because what we believe he still will accomplish in the future. Because I mean, you look at Frankie Edgar and the run he had. I mean, it's pretty legit too.
Yeah. Good point.
Let's talk about what might be next for these two guys. I mean, we can't overlook that. For Charles Oliveira, I've mentioned Islam Makhachev multiple times. Dana had interesting talking points about that fight at the post-fight press conference. Did you have a chance to watch it? Okay. So I watched it when it happened, and when asked, I believe the question that was brought up first was about if he still would want to do Islam Makhachev versus Beneil Dariush, because, you know, he doubled down on that fight. Dana said he would still love to see that fight, but he said on his way to the podium, Joe Rogan stopped him and told him not to make that fight.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit.
So that was one point. He didn't completely say who a number 1 contender might be. He did make it very clear Charles Oliveira will be in the next lightweight title fight. But, you know, he was like, yeah, there's a lot of great options. He was talking about Michael Chandler and Never mentioned Conor McGregor, but he did mention Islam Makhachev, Beneil Dariush. Like, as of now, I feel like the front runner is Islam,
Yeah.
but I don't. But for some reason, I don't feel as confident in it as I think a lot of people want us probably to be.
Right. Right.
Like, I think that's who it should be,
Exactly.
but Dana just hasn't firmly said, because of that, I feel like there's a chance that if for some reason if the timelines don't match up when Islam wants to fight, when Charles wants to fight, or if I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, if you look at the top here, I mean Chandler really made a statement. We'll talk about that, but I, Charles afterwards even called out Conor McGregor in the main
Yeah.
event. So there is just a lot of options, and I could see it to where maybe he doesn't quite get it next. But if I had to guess right now, I would say they would do that fight with him, Charles, and Islam in Abu Dhabi in I think October.
October. Yeah. I agree. I think that's what will probably happen, and you kind of said it perfectly. Where we feel like it should be him. We're just like, what's going to happen? And that's the way it is with these divisions sometimes, especially 155 pounds. Our buddy said something about Dariush potentially being injured too. I don't know how
Well,
much truth there is
that's
to
why
that.
he fell out of the. He broke his ankle. That's why he fell out of the
Well, right, but
Islam
it's
fight,
still
right?
not recovered fully, I guess, is
Well, he
what
never
I
got
think Jake
surgery
said.
on it.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. So that could potentially hinder him and Islam, which is what Dana wanted to do. Therefore, freeing up Islam to take on Oliveira. That's the fight to do. That's such a massive fight, man. We never got to see Charles versus Habib, but damn it, this is the closest thing to it. So that's what should happen. The top of this division's on fire. Not that it wasn't coming into Saturday, but now it's even more. It's crazy the amount of contenders that are still seemingly one win away from a title shot as well. But yes, that is what should be next for Charles Oliveira, the vacant title fight with Islam Makhachev.
Now, for Justin Gaethje, someone who we really haven't talked about much, obviously, he was the loser of this fight. Um, I think a lot of people were kind of shocked after everything that transpired before in the lead up. I think a lot of people were shocked by the result here and how it happened. Surprisingly, Charles hurting him on the feet multiple times early, that
Within
shocked
10
me.
seconds.
Yeah,
Right
I
when
was shocked because you saw Michael Chandler land some bombs on him in
yeah,
the fight, and Justin just kind of ate it. So I
yeah,
thought for sure Charles would have a hard time hurting him on the feet, and he hurt him first.
yeah,
Now, Justin had a lot of success here. Ultimately, it was when the fight went to the ground. We know Justin Gaethje's jiu-jitsu is pretty non-existent in his game, and Charles, once he got
dude.
that back, I mean, multiple times, it was just over,
Yeah,
chalked, done.
yeah,
Now, for Gaethje, this is a gutting loss. I mean, this is the second time fighting for the undisputed title, second time you've been choked out
yeah.
and lost in doing so. What do you do if you're him? What's next for him? Because again, he's such a fun fighter. He's beating everybody except for these champions, Habib and now Charles. So, is a rematch with Michael Chandler perhaps the fight to make, or is a fight with I don't know someone else that I'm not quite thinking about top of my head, a Dariush or someone like that, stick out to you more?
Oh, well, no, I appreciate your wording there because you set it up so perfectly for me to just come in and hit the home run because there's another guy that's been an interim champion that's lost two title fights via choke to the same two people. And by the way, there's history between these two as well. Run it back, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. Let us not forget how a fucking war that they had in 2018 that went into the fourth round. That's got fight of the night all over it. That's a main event if I've ever seen one. And there's history there. It's two guys that are in a weird spot because they're top three, but you're not necessarily just going to jump right back in for a title fight. I think people have wanted to see that rematch, and now it makes sense. That's what I'd do all day if I'm the UFC. Poirier, Gaethje too.
Yeah, sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Dustin Poirier needs a fight. He's looking for a fight. Nate Diaz ain't gonna be that fight.
Yeah, it ain't going to be that one.
Now
So,
Dana also, I guess I should also just mention that he did. He was asked about the um, all
the
the
leak.
fight, the leak, and he was pretty like, he was kind of like,
Yeah,
oh yeah. He's like, we did the. He acted like it wasn't that big of a deal. He's like, No, some of that stuff we put on there as placeholders. He's like, yeah, some of it is stuff that we're trying to do. Some of
Yeah.
it is stuff that's official. So they asked him about Diaz Chimaev, and he said that fight's not made yet. And they asked, well, is that a fight that you want to make? And he said yes.
Mm.
And then they asked if that fight had been offered to Nate Diaz yet, and he said, I don't know. So
I love Dana's wisdom.
yeah, but interesting points there. I think that that means this is the fight that I think they're setting up. Then
Yeah.
Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje too. The first fight was electric. It was awesome. It was a war. Justin Gaethje has come a long way since that first fight and really making himself a more technical fighter. And Dustin Poirier's stardom has risen so much, and his confidence has risen so much since then. Do you ever foresee, like, do you feel like that was the last chance for Justin Gaethje, or is it too soon to tell right now?
I kind of feel the same way for him and Dustin both, right? It's like they've had those two chances and they've not gotten it. Granted, Poirier, bigger star, I guess, now because of the fights with Conor and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But Gaethje, don't get it twisted, is a super fan favorite fighter. Fan friendly, yeah. And some hate tossed around. Oh, you said Oliveira's a quitter. You tapped. Shut up. People are just so petty with people.
He's just
like,
talking. You know, it's just fun talking.
So, but yeah, I kind of hold them in this bracket of their own, right? Them two that I'm not ruling it out that they're good enough to be the champion. You know what I mean? But they just haven't gotten it done. So 100%, I can't say no, neither guy, but especially Justin since he fought last night. I don't think he's completely out.
That's interesting that you put them two together, because I agree with you on Justin that I can't say for certain that he never will be there again. But for Dustin, I do feel that way. And I think it's just because I don't think he has many fights left.
Yeah,
that could be his last fight with Justin if that happens. I see Justin fighting for a long time, and that's why I think that his chances are a lot greater to protect, because I don't see him falling out of the top 10 anytime soon. But
right.
Crazier things have happened. We'll talk about that later. Let's get into the